Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into a concept that seems, well, almost backward, but it holds some real strength. Powerlessness.
Mm-hmm.
We're drawing insights from Dr. Nader Attalla's work, specifically Chapter 6, Powerlessness, the paradoxical strength and surrender. Really insightful stuff.
It really is.
Our mission today is kind of exploring how admitting our limits, you know that feeling when you just wear yourself out trying to control something you absolutely can't.
Oh, yeah. Like someone else's mood or, I don't know, the traffic.
Exactly. Or the weather, how acknowledging that can actually open doors to growth, relief, and maybe even a different kind of power.
What's really fascinating here, I think, is how this idea of powerlessness, which most of us see as weakness, right?
Totally.
It's presented here as a profound strength, but it
I'm
takes
scared.
guts, courage, humility, real honesty, just to look reality in the eye and say, okay, I have limits.
Yeah, that's hard.
It is, because it goes against everything our ego wants, that part of us that craves control, certainty, being totally self-sufficient.
Right. The illusion of control.
Exactly. But as this deep dive shows, surrendering those illusions, that becomes the foundation for real recovery, real growth. It's core to the 12 steps,
Okay. The 12 steps.
Yeah, a framework that started with AA, but honestly, its wisdom goes way beyond addiction. We'll focus today on the first 3 steps and how powerful they can be.
Okay, good. Because it's not just about addiction, like you said. This wisdom feels pretty universal. So, step 1, the courageous admission.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you basically acknowledge up front, I'm powerless over this specific thing. Could be an addiction, sure, but also chronic anxiety, maybe a really difficult relationship dynamic.
Right. Anything where your efforts to control it aren't working.
And that your life has become unmanageable because of it.
Mm.
It's not about giving up, is it? It's more like redirecting energy.
Precisely. Redirecting that huge amount of energy we waste fighting what we can't change. So why is that first admission so tough for people, do you think?
Well, I imagine it forces you to take a hard look at all the ways you tried to control things.
Exactly. An honest inventory. And often seeing how those efforts maybe even made things worse.
Oof.
And that leads us right into step 2, which is about opening up to hope.
Okay.
Once you accept the powerlessness, you become ready, or at least willing, to believe that maybe a power greater than yourself could restore you. The AA Big Book, the main text, basically says human power alone often isn't enough.
So a higher power, that term can be tricky for some.
It can be. But what's key here is openness. Notice it says came to believe, not instantly believed. It's a process. Even if you're skeptical, just being open to, I don't know, spiritual principles or something beyond your own ego can lead to huge growth. The source even points out atheists and agnostics find their way with this.
That's important. Openness, not necessarily immediate faith, and that leads to step 3.
Step 3, the decision to surrender, making a choice.
Okay, what does that mean practically?
It's about deciding to entrust your will, your life, your thoughts, actions, problems over to the care of that something greater, however you understand it, relying on guidance beyond just you.
Like the serenity prayer.
Exactly. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That's step 1 right there. Courage to change the things I can. That's where your agency comes back.
Right.
And wisdom to know the difference. That's the ongoing practice.
So how does this surrender actually, help someone? Does it bring clarity, better decisions?
I think it does. It lets you release the huge mental weight of trying to solve the unsolvable. And what's really vital here is that your understanding of this higher power is personal. It could be God, nature, collective wisdom, your own deeper self.
The label doesn't matter as much.
Less important than the recognition that fundamentally you aren't the center of the universe and you can't control everything. And that admission, ironically, paradoxically, that's where real strength starts to build. Our sources even show that how we perceive the divine, if we do, affects mental health. A loving perception links to better well-being, more peace, more clarity.
Okay, so we've seen how these steps are key in the 12-step model. But what about broader research? Can anyone apply this?
Absolutely.
Oh.
There's actually solid research, like a big Cochrane library analysis, showing 12-step programs like AA are really effective. Participants often showed higher abstinence rates than with some other treatments, like CBT.
Okay.
But yeah, the wisdom goes further. Think about chronic illness. You might be powerless over the condition itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But acknowledging that frees you up. You can then focus your energy on managing symptoms, treatment, self-care, the things you can influence.
Or relationships.
Yeah.
You can't control how someone else feels or acts,
Never.
but you absolutely have power over your own responses, your boundaries, your choices. It's about finding where your actual power lies.
Exactly. And connecting this to the bigger picture, acknowledging powerlessness, it doesn't isolate you. It actually opens you up to connection with others on similar paths, connection with your own authentic self underneath that controlling ego.
And potentially connection with that, something greater, providing guidance.
Yes. Which leads to a really important question for anyone listening. What might open up in your life if you let go of trying to control the uncontrollable? What space could that create for, well, authentic power to flow in? Remember that line from the source.
Which one?
I am powerless over this, and in that acknowledgement, I find a new kind of power.
So wrapping this up, what's the key takeaway for you listening? This deep dive, it's not saying be passive, or it's not resignation.
Not at all.
It's inviting you into this really profound paradox.
Yeah.
Admitting your limits is actually the doorway to your true power. When you finally release that exhausting illusion of controlling everything.
Which is impossible anyway.
Right. You find energy, clarity, maybe a kind of peace you didn't even know was possible.
Yeah.